everyone, to our Groundskeeper chat series. I am your host, Meg Kruger, and today I am joined by a wonderful guest, our most recent cover girl of the Sports Field Management magazine, but really, truly the buzz around town, Mrs. Paula Sliefert. Welcome. You are the new CEO of Sports Field Management Association, a no-brainer choice, really, in everyone's mind. But did it come as a shock to you that you were being considered?
Well, thank you for having me on today, Meg. When you ask me if it comes as a shock, I actually applied.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
I had intent. And at the same time, I'm really thankful that the board was intentional about the process.
Yeah.
And there was no skipping the process. There was no, hey, she knows everybody. They really put me through the ringer. And I say that in a most loving way because I earned the role based on all the candidates that applied. So I was really glad of how thorough they were and how they approached it. And in the end, I was able to apparently package myself insofar that I could add value to the membership long term. And I'm
Definitely.
thankful that I ended up earning the role and getting to work with a fabulous staff. They're amazing people and they're actually making, when I say making, they're surprising me every day with all this knowledge they have, all the caring and passion they have towards membership. And that is awesome that I got to inherit that part of the job as well. That being said, lots of opportunities and sometimes a new fresh eyes looking at something
Mhm.
is helpful. And so that is what I've started with is trying to sit back, listen and learn, as well as then start drafting some strategies that I think we could address. And we have to do them in priority because we can't do order because we can't do everything at once.
Of course, yes. Incredible. I can't imagine the whirlwind it's been the last several months, but all excitement, I think, from everyone who has received the news. I haven't seen a single person skip by the news without saying, like, oh my gosh, yes, like, thank goodness. It's so excited for you, but also just feeling like, it's so nice to have someone in this role that is personally vetted in this industry and has been for decades. And that's a really, unique opportunity, I think, and it's one that I'm very excited to see how it plays out.
And again, the board that went through the process, again, I was one of many that submitted my intent. And I will say that one of the things I do not bring to the association is association management experience.
Mhm.
But I did position it during the interview, and they obviously bought into what I was selling. But I positioned it such that that's something I can certainly learn because I view nonprofits, then specifically SFMA, as a business.
Yeah.
There's going to be some nuances that I'm not used to that I'm going to have to adapt to that I can learn along the way. But here's what I bring to the table, and strategy and knowing everything is meaning the industry. I don't have to learn certain people or nuances. I know the conference is amazing. We have great networking, but I did commit to the board because I'm walking in knowing full well that I don't have that formal association experience, that I've committed to earn my CAE, Certified Association Executive status, within the first 3 years
Okay,
of
very
being
cool.
CEO. And so we are an association that props up education through certification. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead by example. And by that example, then I would, like I said, I would go and get certified myself to
Definitely.
demonstrate that we're all continuously learning. And that will be the new challenge for me. Again, the staff is already guiding me on stuff that nonprofit versus profit is different. And I'm learning from them. I'm glad that I am able to learn from them, but I'm also questioning a lot of stuff that they haven't questioned in a while. And that's just because they've been in nonprofit world
Yeah.
and not the profit world. And so there is some crossover, and in certain areas there's not crossover. And so that's been a fun journey so far.
Definitely. And I think it really, represents what our and what our one of the core principles of our industry, which is that always learning or always having the opportunity to better yourself and take it the extra mile. Groundskeepers especially, it's an evolving industry. It's an evolving job. It's not what it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And so it's really cool to see that that is being represented in every level of the industry where it's that continuous growth, continuous evolution, and, desire to learn more and better ourselves. Very cool.
Yeah, and as I've reflected the first month or so that I've been on the job, I'm like, what is the same about membership versus what we at HQ do,
Mhm.
headquarters? And I think part of it is discipline. They
Yeah.
have to be disciplined in creating the most playable, safe sports fields in the world.
Yes.
And we have to be disciplined about our serving them to help them do that in their role. And so I've been trying to reflect and find what the common denominator is for all of us, and discipline so far has rose to the top.
I love that. I love that. This was, I think, one of the last questions I had sent you, but I think it's actually how I want to start off.
Yeah.
Um, what has really kept you rooted during this time? Especially when a huge change like this happens in our life. It's really easy to get swept up and, either lose part of your own self-care or lose sight of maybe those goals that you've had. What has really helped you stay rooted, whether it's like a ritual or a mantra or just something that you've always kind of helped keep you, on task or grounded in what you really want out of things?
Yeah, good, very good question. And again, I'm coming at it from a corporate perspective because the last 18 years I served in a role for a corporation and I learned a massive amount. And I'm very thankful for the structure that that gave me on my thinking and my analytical ability to think through things, which I didn't have going into that role.
Yeah.
And so I'm now transforming that over to SFMA headquarters, which you'll get can be frustrating for some
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not for others, but I'm asking questions for the betterment of the association.
Right.
And asking questions is one way when you say, how are you rooted? It's just
Mhm.
being curious
Yes.
and not making judgment. I am busy what I would call talking through with staff and myself about brand management. And so
Mhm.
you, again, on my background is marketing, so I have a different perspective with
Yes.
regard to others that may have filled this role. But I'm talking through what has every interaction with us, what has added to the brand and what has detracted from the brand. And we do have both.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make sure we lift up what has added. And then we have a list of priorities of how we're going to address better interactions with the brand
Mhm.
moving forward. And again, we can't address them all at once. So we're creating a strategy and through the listening tour that I'm doing. And then that will get presented to the board of directors and they'll help us decide which ones we're going to attack first, second, or third. Now, that being said, I will say I had a lot of pressure because of the experience in the industry
Mhm.
and the industry support that I've received that you noted earlier.
Yeah.
It's been overwhelmingly amazing.
Yeah.
Like that was something I did not see coming at all. And it was heartwarming to
Yeah.
know that people see I have a servant leadership style and I'm going to continue to do that. So when I go into trying to make change, that we have to manage complex change. And
Yes.
so I'm trying to acknowledge the past, but say, okay, that's how we got here. Now I want you guys to start and us to all start talking about the future.
Yeah.
So we need to know the as is state. We need to know how we got there, which is the past, but where are we headed?
Mhm.
Because we're going to leave some of those things behind that aren't adding to the value of membership moving forward longer term.
Definitely. What are some of those things that when you reflect on your time as a member of SFMA that have always, filled your cup, a Kelly Lynch term, filling up your peanut butter cup. What are those things that you want to, stay true to the organization that you have benefited from over the years? Like when you think of SFMA, the warm and fuzzies that you hope it maintains, the things, because it can definitely, I'm sure you can get in the weeds of so many different legalities and all the different logistics. But what are just some of those, the way that it makes people feel or the way that it benefits its members that you hope to maintain?
So great. Another great question, Megan. I would frame that up of you asking about culture.
Yes, yes. Well, that was the perfect word for it. Would have made it a lot more seamless or streamlined if I used that in the question. So I appreciate the assist there.
No problem. And culture is key.
Hmm.
And one of the top things when you ask what the warm and fuzzy is, I was a member as a commercial member, which may be different than as a practitioner, which I've never been. So what I would say is the networking
Yeah.
is amazing. The sharing of what I call best practices, which I'm going to hopefully start calling and get people to start calling next practices.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's innovations both in service and products that
Hmm.
are entering our marketplace that are going to be next. And we could help our members, practitioner members, embrace some of those transitions. Because again, we're back to change. And
Yes.
so instead of making change scary and having people resist, all humans resist change, can
Yes.
we help set up a structure where innovation is embraced specifically around technology? Because that's a lot of where that's coming from. And it's both services as well as product. And
Mhm.
so when I say that, culture, I think the culture has been very open to sharing where the pain points are when the change of products and services come into play.
Right.
And if we can help create a culture where they can advocate for each other and talk to each other about what worked, what didn't work, that would help the commercial members improve their products and services, but it will also help the practitioner
Hmm.
not misstep where they may have already misstep and help save some time for them. So I would say the culture will be key to keep the openness that we seem to have. Other associations that I have engaged with, some are open, some are not, because in reality, some other areas they are competing for
Hmm.
business. And not commercial members, but practitioners as far as end users, what fields they're going to use, things like that. And I hope that the culture retains this openness that we have of sharing best practices, which I hope we start calling next practices.
I love that. I really do. And I think you mentioned, the network in that answer as well. And I have stumbled upon so many people by doing this groundskeeper chat that you have been a point person at somewhere in their journey, whether it was just an encouraging conversation or you were someone that they could always rely on seeing at conference. You really have been, we call it like family trees, at least how I organize it. But you have been a part of so many, practitioners' journeys. And what has it been to how has it been to like receive that support back as you navigate this big change?
Yeah,
Hopefully now all those people giving back to your journey.
yeah, excellent, excellent question. When I got cast into the unknown,
Hmm.
when the corporation made a decision and I wasn't a part of their future, that's corporate America. That
Yeah.
happens. Again, the overwhelming support I got from the industry, it was kind of karma.
Yeah.
The support, I didn't change as a person. A business just happened to make a decision. And again, I'm not a part of their future. So I said to myself, and I will say my 83-year-old mom helped me through this because
I love
I'll
that.
use her to bounce things off of. And when you go through the unknown like that, and I got thrown into unemployment, you do start questioning yourself.
Of course.
And as you go through those questions, my mom's advice, again, my 83-year-old mom says, feel your feelings, get mad, get angry, be scared, just don't live there.
Ugh, I love that. I
And
really
so
love
I
that.
did privately go through some of those
Yeah.
feelings,
Yeah.
but publicly, every morning I would get up and make a choice to be positive.
Hmm.
And every morning through that journey, somebody from the marketplace was calling me in support. I was getting text messages,
Yeah.
and that karma was coming back to me. And I honestly didn't know some of the impact I have, which is perfect. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
But sometimes you just need someone to believe in you in
Yes.
order to take the next step. And the industry stepped up for me. Like I don't even know, I'm humbled by how much support I received during that unknown
Yeah.
period.
Yes.
But every day I decided to learn something new. I decided to stay in a positive state. I leveraged every resource that was handed to me, and I practiced being positive. In other words, I practiced interviews. I asked for input
Yeah.
on my LinkedIn page, things like that. And a lot of what I could package and bring to SFMA as CEO, I learned from my last job. And
Hmm.
I was able to say, hey, these skills can help be transferable over to SFMA. Again, I have this lack of experience in the nonprofit world, but I'm willing to learn that. And so, because the industry stepped up and saw this skill set,
Yes.
I was again super, super humbled. It's amazing. And I would say I wake up every day and then somebody out of the blue would get a hold of me. And all of you people that have done that for me, you know who you are.
I love
So
it.
I can't tell you how much that lifted me up.
Yeah.
So I will say during my journey when I was at the last company, anyone that happened to be in that situation, I always took the time.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to always take the time because you have no idea how meaningful that is. And this ended up in an amazing role of which I get to stay in the green industry.
Yes.
And I'm not changing as a person. I get to take myself to the next job is what I kept saying.
I love
And
that.
I've landed in a most fantastic place for sure. And I get to continue to serve and I get to leverage a skill set that I recognize as needed for the organization. And clearly the board of directors who voted to extend the offer saw that same skill set.
I love it. And like you said, I think like you said, you're coming as the same person and you're a person that we all love and are
Thank
excited to
you.
support. So I think that's wonderful that, your mom also was able to, shine light on that for you as well. Moms never, we never can stop listening to them, truly.
Yeah, and like I said, the giving back that the practitioners and the other commercial members and a lot of professors got a hold of me. My advice would be build your network
Yeah,
and build your network out of sincerity, out of intentionality, and be real. And it doesn't matter what you do; those people are going to be a part of your life.
I love that. Yes, I have definitely found that to be true. And even when it's not work related and you're able to call those people for advice on different facets that obviously happen outside of the job. And it's so hard. I say this all the time on here. It is so hard to explain the network and the culture and the camaraderie that is in this industry to people that haven't been a part of it because they kind of just look at you like, okay, like, yeah, you all your friends are, a groundskeeper, like what's going, but there's got to be something innate about the people that are involved in this industry or who've been touched by organizations like SFMA that we just look out for each other and want to help each other in the grand scheme of things.
And the investment of interacting with people, sometimes they just need to know that somebody believes in you. And I think
100%.
what you're referencing, as far as I've impacted other people's lives, it's because I believed in them.
Yes.
And in those times when you do have self doubt, which I recently went through
Hmm.
because of my change, it's those people that truly help lift you up. And that's why it becomes memorable. So call it a sponsor, call it a mentor, call it what you want. But people supporting people still matters, and it matters regardless of industry that you're serving.
Yes, I reference them as hype girl or boys, and my number one hype person is Kelly Lynch, and
Yeah.
whenever I need a pick me up, or somebody to build me up, literally, if I'm in that rut of just like what am I doing, like and I just feel like lost at sea in some sense, I will give her a call and she will build me up in every way and helps me go on my way. But the actually who I podcasted with last week, Vince Jaganowski, and
Oh yeah,
I'm
love
gonna
Vince.
yes, and I hope I said his name right because I've had to say it on recording 3 times now. I should have it right by now, but I'm sure he'll reach out if I butchered it again. But he is now on the commercial side, but he had a long career as a groundskeeper and in the green industry as a landscaper. And he was telling me this story of, when he first came onto the commercial side, he was really living in that self-doubt. Like, am
Yeah,
I gonna be able to transition from being a groundskeeper to, selling the product
yeah.
or also just being accepted in this group because I was one of them and now I feel like I'm kind of on the outs and living in that cycle of just like how is this going to work out? And
Yeah.
he was talking about this, angel that came down from the heavens in his moment of need. And, how somebody, a simple conversation at, I think it was like a field day or a vendor fair of some sorts, really like helped him move forward and have confidence in what he was bringing to the table. And that angel from the heavens was you. So
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
super sweet.
I was so touched by it because he was describing this person, and I kid you not, Paula, I was like, I wonder if he's going to say Paula. I wonder if he's, and then he was like, and that person was Paula Sleifert. And I was like, I knew it.
Yeah. Well,
And
he just needed somebody to believe in him at that moment in
exactly.
time. He's
Yeah.
super talented, a gifted individual, and at that time I was a commercial person,
Yes.
and he walked up to me and I said, "Well, do you know so and so? Do you know so and so?" No, and I go, "Well, come with me." I said, "You need to start your network. Come
Yep.
on." And
I
so
love it.
he's like we're competitors on it. And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, I understand that, but that's not what we're doing right now." I said,
Hmm.
"We're making introductions right now because we're here to support the health of the industry."
I
And
love
so
it.
I was able to separate the health of the industry versus competition. But
Hmm.
if a practitioner was standing in front of us, then I would have said, "You want to buy this brand, and here's why." And
Yep,
but
of course.
that wasn't the moment in time because that
Love it.
wasn't the intent of when we were gathering or meeting. And
Yeah.
so Vince has become a great supporter of mine, and I'm equally as much of it for him.
I
So
love
it's
it.
a great story to share, and thank you. I honestly didn't realize that impact until you had texted me the
Oh, I
story.
love it.
It made my day because I smiled and I could picture the room we were in. I could picture the time we were having that conversation. And he was actually showing vulnerability,
Yeah.
which is a form of leadership as well. And I don't think he knew that while he was doing it, but I saw it in
Yeah.
him and for him. And so I just gave him some encouraging words, and he did all the hard work. He did
I
the
love
rest.
it. I
I
love
just
it.
created an environment for him to believe in himself.
I love that because, that sentiment that you're sharing, yeah, believing in people is really so core to our industry as well, especially when we're looking to attract the next generation and we're telling them, like, hey, there are many routes to entry here. You can come right from high school. You can come from, a degree in physics and you are looking for a crazy next step. Like, there's so many points of entry that you can enter this industry because we have people that are invested in that mentorship, that are willing to believe in you and willing to teach you on the job if you come with the right attitude and the right, point of view on how you can be a part of this industry. And I love that, that's been really core to your story.
Yeah, and I will say I'm a imperfect human. So I have misstepped along the way, as most people have. And so it's the grace that people grant you during those times that is also helpful.
Yes.
But I read recently, and I can't remember if it might have been George Clooney, might have been Bradley Cooper. I can't remember. Some famous person said, "You do most of your learning and growing when you make a mistake,
Yes.
not when you're
100%.
successful." And
Yes.
so I'm paraphrasing that, of course. And I thought I reflect on that as well and think, yeah, they are right. You have to be willing. It takes courage to make that mistake.
Yep.
But then it takes even more courage to admit it was a mistake and then gracefully try to navigate your way out of that. And your network will help put guardrails on how deep you go to make sure you don't go too far. Things
I
like
love
that.
that. One of our questions that we always ask people when we do our Pioneers in the Field campaign
Yeah.
is like, what is one of those aha moments?
Yeah.
And, I think when I initially formulated that question, I was looking for them to kind of share their trade secret or maybe like an epiphany they had about how they were doing something. And I tell you, probably 9 times out of 10, they share a story about a time that they messed up in their career and somebody treated them with grace and brought them along and didn't talk down to them or chew them out, but simply was just like, hey, it happens. Like, and this is your opportunity to not do it again and just get better from this. And I tell you, that's what everyone shares as their aha moment is the learning that they, had from that mistake.
And one of the stories I like to share is, you can't do everything by yourself.
Hmm.
And so you have to learn that vulnerability to rely on those that help point out your blind spots, help you lift you up when you've fallen, things
Yeah.
like that. And the story I like to share is I did run track in high school, believe it or not. And I had a choice my senior year. I went to the state track meet. It happened to be at Drake University, which is where the Drake Relays, the famous Drake Relays, are ran.
Very
And I
cool.
had a choice, and my high school coach offered the choice of we can run the 4x2, the 4x200, or
Okay.
you can run the single 200 race.
Yes.
But you can't do both because they're back to back and you won't have enough recovery time.
Yep.
And I chose to do the single.
Okay.
So that was the first time in my life I thought, you know what? As I smile, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm going
Yep.
to prove that I can do this, and it
I'm
turned
going
out
out on my own.
yeah, yeah. It turned out I didn't get out of the heats. I never made it to the finals.
Yep.
Had we done the 4x2 as a team, based on the time, we would have gotten fourth. And
Wow.
so why we wouldn't have been in the top three from that point forward, it took me a while. I had to reflect, but from that point forward, I usually try to pick things that are team based,
Yes.
which is why I don't play tennis. I
Yep.
think that's a single sport. It could be a team sport if you're doubles. I
Yep.
do play golf, but I prefer golf tournaments when you have best ball or things like that.
I love
And
that.
I've just learned that I love to be an individual contributor, but I'm not going to be a Caitlin Clark. I'm
Yes.
going
I
to be
love
that standout.
Yeah.
And she leverages everything around her in
Yeah.
order to keep her successful. And I'm trying to also do that. But I know I'm a team player and I'm not a standout for sure.
I love that. That makes me reflect on, my husband was a wrestler and he was a cross country runner and it's very individual.
Yes.
And I only liked team sports. Like I can remember being encouraged to do cross country and the anxiety I would get before the race. Like I just hated the self competition.
Yeah.
Like I really couldn't but I thrived in a team setting. Like it was so much fun for me. So I'm going to have to do some deep diving on how that's impacted my marriage. The fact that I
Well,
married someone who very much likes individual stats or individual competition. Like he thrives in that arena where it's all on him. Like the pressure is
yeah.
all on him and he really, likes to rise to the occasion then in that sense.
Yeah, well, again, we all have to be individual contributors. I just find that that's why I think I'm so collaborative. My
Yes.
preference is I'll do the work, I'll do the grunt work, I'll do the
Yeah.
portion of the project that's mine. Happy to lead, love to lead. I'm inspiring to lead, not to manage in this role as
Yeah.
CEO. And I'm doing a little bit of both right now until I get my bearings around me. But it's to lead, you also have to acknowledge your weaknesses, your blind spots. Again, I'm an imperfect human. I have made people mad before, likely unintentionally, but it's happened. And sometimes my direct style and approach doesn't resonate with certain folks. And I just have to explain I'm not trying to harm anybody. I have the best interest in this case of the membership in my mind, and we are just arguing over how to get there, right? The end result we agree on.
Certainly. What are some of those things you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of those things before being let out of the gate that you were intimidated about with this job, but have since you've kind of started in this new role have become thrilling? Maybe some things that you were like, "Oh, I'm not so sure about this," but have turned out to be like, "Okay, this is an exciting challenge."
So the great question again, and I will say the pressure on because I have experience in the industry is real. So everybody thinks I can hit the ground running. And as a marketer, so I have a marketing background, research is always the start of anything.
Mhm.
And I had presented to the board that I would conduct what I call a listening tour. I did steal that best practice from the current CEO of NRPA, Christine Stratton. That is how she approached it when she first became CEO of NRPA. And I thought that's a really great way to hear about what's going on.
Yep.
And I want to hear what's going well, what we're not doing so well, and what we're not even getting to that we should consider.
Yeah.
And so I've started the research that I'm calling my listening tour.
I love
And
it.
I'm getting pressure of, well, we should do this, we should do that. Well, the
Yeah.
research hasn't concluded yet.
Yeah.
And so I will draw those conclusions and make the recommendations to the board, who ultimately will decide which direction that the organization will take. I serve at the pleasure. And I will take the time to talk to all the board members, all of the staff, the past presidents, all of the committee chairs, the SAFE board chairperson.
Yes.
And then I'm going to talk to somebody in each and every segment, including the commercial segment. And I have lists of people that I'm going to call and reach out to and spend some time on the phone. So it's grassroots
Yes.
research, but I think it's a step that is worth investing in. And so there are certain things that people want me to start working on, and
Mhm.
I'm not yet, because I've created the space in order to conduct the listening tour so we can really hear from everybody, because there's stuff we do excellent. There
Yeah.
is stuff we've completely fallen down on, and it's damaging our brand presence. And there is absolutely stuff that people think we should be working on. We
Mhm.
haven't, it's not even a concept right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm capturing all of that input, and I'm meeting with the staff as well as the president of the board, Adam Tomes, and we're going to meet in August face to face and go through all of that feedback.
I love it.
And there will be absolutely no names associated with the feedback. So people
Yeah.
can be very blunt and tell me all, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
And they are,
I
by
love
the
it.
way,
I love
which
it.
is awesome. That's what we want. And
Yes.
then we'll bucket it from there and create something to put in front of the board for a meaningful, intentional discussion and
That's
put forward our recommendations based on the feedback. And so then I'll get into some of the other stuff. And so some of the other stuff includes what I call the foundation of the association. So we invested in and deployed a new system, that
okay.
a member management system.
Very
We are
cool.
not yet leveraging it to our full ability. That is high on my list of what I want to get into. And things like that. As a
Yes.
sponsorship program is another thing that I definitely want to understand, sit back. So we've created a group to help me dive into the details of that and come up with
Awesome.
recommendations. And hopefully those two big things are going to be discussed in October at the next board meeting, because those are two massive things to
Yes.
be talked about for sure.
Very
So I don't know that members will see change immediately because I'm CEO. I think we'll create a plan
mm-hmm.
from all of this, and then they'll start seeing changes. But I would like to create a communication process where everybody's being brought along the way. And again, I welcome anybody to reach out to me, email, text, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your medium is, WhatsApp, because I'm taking that feedback right now, and I'd welcome anybody to get a hold of me, and I'll give you a half an hour and write down some of the things that you want to share with me. Again, no names are going against the feedback. I'm
Yes.
going to keep it
Yes.
completely anonymous and just bucket what the topics are. I'm not trying to make it about personalities and politics. I'm trying to make
Yes.
it about what the issue or opportunity or praise, what bucket that falls under.
Wow, that's incredible. In such a undertaking, but without even seeing the end result, I can already tell it's worthwhile. Like just the foundation that it will give you in this new role, but also, the future of where we're heading.
And that I have already, thankfully, had people reach out to me in a half an hour, sometimes turns into an hour and a half.
Mm.
Great investment of time.
Yes.
Because if people weren't getting a hold of me, I think we'd be in trouble.
Yep.
I think people would have given up because they're
Yes,
not even going to take the
exactly.
time to communicate. So that the passion is there, the intention of wanting to help the association is just overwhelmingly positive, even though they have negative things to say sometimes.
Yeah.
That's just the opportunity bucket.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful they're telling me, like,
Yes.
they're not pointing fingers, they're not pointing out people's names. They just, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? And what aren't we doing that we should do? And by the way, out of that will fall out what we should stop doing that
Yeah.
isn't bringing member value.
Yes, yes. And just out of my own curiosity, are you having to relocate at all for the
Oh,
new
great
position?
question. I have a lot of people ask that. The SFMA decided to close their official offices, the
Okay, I didn't
physical
realize that.
offices
Okay.
pre-COVID. And
Okay.
since that decision was made, the board has not voted to reopen a physical office. And so we are 100% remote
I did not
HQ
realize
staff.
that. Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
I will not be relocating at this time.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah, so we have one that lives in Texas, three that live in the Lawrence, Kansas area, and then I'm still in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. So
Very
right
cool.
now, we have to be intentional about connecting to make sure and so a lot of business in my last role got done in the hallway.
Yeah, yeah.
All that, the water cool talk.
Yes.
So we have to be intentional about the water cool talks. And so we meet at least once a week. And then I'm meeting one on one with staff because they have to tell me where they need my help, where I need to step in and where I need to stay out of their way. And I already was very transparent with them that, you have happy go lucky Paula, and then you have stressed out, controlling taking Paula, and
Yes.
she's ugly.
Yes.
And it's likely she'll come out at some point, and I've given them all permission to go ahead and point that out to me.
Yes.
Hey, you're controlling taking. Oh, yep, I am. It'll make me pause. It'll help me be a better leader.
Yeah.
And so I've given them all permission to do that because I did a bunch of like 360 reviews on myself. And
Okay.
some of the SFMA members had contributed to that, which was awesome. So I kind of know that that's one of my blind spots. When I get
Mhm.
stressed out, I'm controlling taking and I step all over people. I don't mean to, I
Yeah.
just do it. And I've given all the staff all responsibility to call me out on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, and say, all right, you're controlling taking right now, and that's not very motivating to me. And that's my role, is to
Yeah.
motivate them.
That's very cool. And how have you, kind of navigated that new normal where you are remote and having to connect virtually? Is it just having you, look forward to, conferences and things like that more, or have you found a lot of benefit from, being remote?
Yeah, remote is a challenge. I was uncertain how I was going to feel about it. At least we got a taste of it during COVID. I mean,
Yes.
COVID was a negative thing, but I kind of learned how to do it a little bit then.
Yes.
I am a people person, as you are, Meg. You
Yes.
and me are people.
Yes. Yes.
And so I will be intentional about getting out in the marketplace. I did discuss at the last board meeting with the board members for the rest of the calendar year what industry events and opportunities we had if they wanted to send me to travel. And they did approve a bunch of stuff that might be
Very
new for
cool.
May to engage in. As an example, I will be going to NRPA's conference in September.
Very cool.
And that is an intentional decision by the board wanting to get our brand out there, to get the connections made there and leverage some of the work that I was fortunate to do with my last company that
Yeah.
carries over to
Very
this
cool.
company. So that company's investment is living on as well, right?
Very cool. Very cool. And you're also, I don't know the official title, but you're heavily involved with the professional football field managers. I'm sure I butchered that title as well. So clarify my gibberish there and tell us a
Yeah,
little bit
so
about that.
great question. I'm again quite honored that they approached me and invited me to be their executive director. So it's the
Very cool.
Professional Football Field Managers Alliance.
Very cool.
And I got hired in March, and then SFMI hired me in June. And during the process, the football folks knew I was still looking for a full-time job, and the SFMA folks board, in this case, knew I had this job
Yeah.
already on hand. And there are certainly crossovers, but I'm keeping the business of those organizations separate. If they want me to talk about one or the other, depending on where I'm at, I'm
Yeah.
glad to do it, but they're going to I've told both groups they have to invite me to talk about it because
Yeah.
that when I'm in those meetings with the football guys, it isn't about SFMA. It's about their organization. If they ask me and
Yeah.
give me the floor, then I'm happy to, and I will, of course.
Hmm.
A lot of them are members as well. Same with
course.
with the SFMA, there'll be certain things that are confidential on the football side that I'm not going to be able to talk about on the SFMA side because I've signed agreements for both
Yeah,
that I would conduct it that way, and they're both comfortable with my integrity and an approach that I can keep things separate but together. But I think there'll be good collaboration taking place too, and I probably will play the conduit of that. But that's up to both boards. They
yeah,
both have a board structure, and I serve at the pleasure, so I will be certainly respectful of both of their boards and give it my all. So I have my home computer, which I do with the NFL guys or the professional football guys, and then I have my work computer, which is SFMA. And so I think it's a good setup, and they all agreed. I mean, I've got nothing but support from both parties. So
I
that's
love
been
that.
amazing.
A very unique opportunity. It's like, in an already very niche industry, the most niche positions you could hold in the industry.
Yeah. And
I love it.
what the groups do well, both of them, they both grow grass extremely well, right? The skill set I bring is I'm trying not to make their decisions for them. I'm trying to bring them options
Yeah.
and create the environment where they discuss what they want.
Yes.
And I have certainly have my opinions, and I'll say this is my opinion when I want to some direction to take place. But I also recognize it's not my decision; it's theirs as the board. And so my role, in my opinion, is to bring forward the opportunities or the options for them to discuss. And
Very,
then I'll implement whatever they decide.
very cool. Well, one thing that I've always got on my radar that I'm always excited for is the annual conference, the
Yes.
national conference. And this year we'll be in Fort Worth, Texas. I saw that you had the opportunity to do some scouting. What can you tell members that are listening to, get hyped about for January?
Well, Texas is always a great location to go to, minus any ice storms.
Yes.
So I will tell you the memory of ice storms in Texas is the one thing that pops up. What most impressed me on the site visit, honestly, was Weston, who is a board member,
Okay.
Weston Floyd, and he also serves as a board member of the local Texas chapter.
Very
And
cool.
that whole chapter, the support that they're giving, the guidance, the
Wow.
enthusiasm, the passion, it's certainly coming through. And I think the national can only benefit more from how well the local chapter is supporting
Wow.
national. And I invite them to continue that because it's awesome. And this collaboration between local and national can only enhance the experience for all of us. And I'm so thankful they realized that in the beginning, and they're leading us, like they're leading us in that regard. And I'm super thankful for that. We do have a lot going on. We also are going to be, I'm going to get the name wrong. So the national training, we're collaborating with FFA,
Oh, yes.
USGA,
Yes.
GCSAA, and SFMA, and Jennifer on staff is organizing all of that.
Very
Weston is
cool.
a point person. Again, Weston from the Weston Floyd, the board
Floyd,
member, he's
yes.
helping
Yeah.
us. It is going to be hosted at TCU. That did get confirmed.
Very cool.
And there'll be what 150 high school students that come in and
So
get the
cool.
training. And I can't tell you how awesome that program is going to be. I think this is just the beginning, and the partnership with how they're going to do it. 1 year at the golf show, 1 year at SFMA conference, I think can only enhance this workforce development theme, the
Yeah.
next generation, and expose them to all of those paths that you were talking about earlier,
Yes.
to that you can go and become a commercial member. You can still study and be a researcher. You can
Yes.
become a practitioner. I mean, there's things that those high school students hadn't even thought about. And this turf grass session opens their eyes to
I
all of
love
that.
it. In Chase Straw, he was one of our pioneers in the field this
Yes.
year. And so he teased that a little bit in January that it would be possibly coming to fruition because Weston Floyd is one of those people that keep popping up in people's journeys. And he was, a big part of Chase Straw's journey when they were both at Texas A&M. And M.
Yes.
And one
Yes.
of my favorite quotes from Chase's interview, because now he's at Penn State, is had been there for a couple months. He's like, I need to get me a Weston here, is what he said. And I thought that was really sweet. And I think I'm as you are very excited to see how that it takes life because it does sound like an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. And again, that support of people in the industry, if you want me to call out names, I mean, Ken Curry is one of them. Doug Schattinger is one of them. Warren from Hunter is one of them,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. So I am very thankful for that. On the practitioner side, I can't go without my girls. And
Yes.
that's you, of course. And then you have Abby and Sarah and Amy and Son. Those folks
Yes.
have been unwaveringly supportive. So it's been awesome. So
Incredible. Incredible.
yeah,
Well,
and the general session we've determined, and I was invited to speak, and I just smiled because, the sports field managers typically don't like being out front. Certain personalities do, but I would say, in my opinion, a majority like to stay behind the scenes.
of
And
course.
the same thing with me running the association. I have a servant heart. I'm fine being up front. I'm confident I can do it. But you can't you don't do Paula too much up front. I mean, I'm just there to serve. And so we did just structure one of the general sessions before the annual meeting. It's going to be Adam Tomes talking about how the association got to where they are today. It's going to be me talking about the results of the listening tour, what the
Yes.
board has bought into as a strategy moving forward and what they voted on to pursue. And then you're going to have Alpha Jones, who will be the incoming president, and he'll
Very
talk
cool.
about where we're headed for the future. And so we're in the middle of, it's July and we're in the middle of structuring that
Wow.
talk right now.
Very cool. I love that. And Alpha in his groundskeeper chat talked about you because you encouraged him to do the Toastmaster
Yes.
tours. So I
Yes.
can't wait to see who on stage shines brighter between the two of you.
I'm sure it'll be Alpha. He's a natural for sure. Also, that's him investing in himself. He's investing in
Yes.
himself and knows that communication and public speaking is a part of leadership. And
Yeah,
he chose to work on it. It's just like I do. I still am a part of Toastmasters.
I
And
love it.
Brad Garrison also sent me a note recently. And he said, I'm so glad you called out Toastmasters in your article. And I'm like, well, I've been a member for 15 years.
That's so
And I
cool.
do it because I choose to continue to work at that skill. I'm
Very
not
cool.
I'm not perfect. I had a lot of ums, ers, and ahs in this chat alone, but Alpha is one that we love interacting because we play off of each other and we both have in a positive way, and we both have a love of learning leadership.
Yes.
And part of that is self-reflection and working on weaknesses in your own self.
Very cool. Well, I think I should take a Toastmasters class because I could only benefit from, being able to find the words when I need them, like on the tip of my tongue. They're always there, but it's hard to sometimes get them out when you're running something like this because, in a lot of ways I like to keep the chats very conversational and I don't want people to feel like we're reading off a script or
Right.
that this is, pre-organized in any way. I want it to really feel like people are listening in on a conversation between peers and reflect on that.
Authentic.
And so but also that comes with, I have no script. So sometimes when I'm trying to get that question out, it is quite the journey to get there. So maybe I would benefit from Toastmasters. I think that could be a fun challenge.
Well, impromptu speaking is one of the sections that they have you work on at the meetings that you decide to go to. So I've used it as a tool. It's inexpensive, relatively speaking, local chapters all over the
Very
world, to be
cool.
honest with you. And I honestly thought as the next step in Toastmasters is that even though I have a master's degree in German, it's a skill you lose if you don't use. I thought about joining a Toastmasters group that is German speaking to force
So
me to
cool.
start doing presentations in German. That takes courage. I haven't gotten there yet, and my German is outdated. And as far as the skill I need to, if I went to live back over there, it would take me 2 or 3 weeks and I'd be back in the swing.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's a skill you don't use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. So
Very cool.
it's that I thought, well, that would be a new challenge is to give a speech in a different language.
Definitely. Well, and that's another callback to something I learned about you through the Sports Field Management Magazine article. They did such a great job really highlighting the A to Z of Paula Sleifert. And that was something that I had no idea that you didn't start off as a marketing guru, that
Yeah.
you had these, as I would categorize them, very unique pursuits. So if anybody hasn't had the opportunity to read that article, definitely seek that out. I found it really enjoyable. It's You never find long form articles or profiles on people like that anymore. It's usually done in this kind of medium, but I'm a journalism major, so I really enjoyed reading that and got a kick out of the article.
Well, again, it's quite humbling and an honor when you start reading about yourself. And I always think, oh man, am I old?
Not at all.
but but it's really interesting that he spent so many pages doing that. He, the editor, John, and
Yes.
I'm honored he did. At the same time, my family teased me that it was a slow news month.
Oh my gosh. Ruthless. They keep us grounded. That's what our first going back to our first question, our families definitely have a knack for keeping us grounded. Things are in the positives, as you mentioned your mom, but also I love that play and put in some playful teasing there as well.
Yes, of course.
Wonderful. Well, Paula, I really appreciate your time. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I appreciate you being able to sit down with us. And we when we joined this call, we both were talking about how this summer has felt like just one punch after the other with some things. And I think that for the last hour, were able to bring me out of that funk. And I just
Good.
want to say thank you for that. And hopefully anybody listening, whether it's on their commute or, they're on their mower, and hopefully you're practicing safe listening, but that this episode was able to bring you, some joy and light today as well.
Well, thank you, Meg, and your leadership and contributions to the industry are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Let me know how I can help lift you up.
Oh,
I'm
thank
happy
you,
to
Paula.
do so. And again, I encourage any member or non-member considering to become a member, anyone can reach out to me in whatever medium they choose, as I'm doing the listening tour right now. So thanks for the format here, Meg.
I love that. I love that. An open door invitation, everyone. So take up the offer for sure. Because anytime I've had the opportunity to interact with Paula, I do leave feeling better and with a smile on my face. So again, friend, thank you so much.
Thank you.